So how do you get from being a kid from Stockton who's been through so much shit to LA?
Well, I had a job. I mean, before entertainment, I worked for a labor union called SEIU. I was the staff director for Kaiser Permanente. So Kaiser hospitals all throughout California. I was one of the 3 directors who led a team of organizers who organized all the hospitals and clinics. So that came by way of me losing my job, but being, very vocal with the city about what I felt was right or wrong about the firing. They saw me advocating for myself. They offered me a job. I was a Kaiser patient at the time. I felt like, now I'm going to be a Kaiser patient with the privilege of advocating for other patients at the level of organizing the leaders. So I did that work for 11 years. And when we merged at the time it was Local 250 merged with Local 399, it became SEIUHW. I was the first staff to come down and help lead the statewide program to really move people into what the union was going to be about. And when I got here, I had established so many relationships from visiting over the years, having met Queen Latifah 30 years ago and just over the years meeting people. So when I got here and I started going to Supper Club, I started going to Ladue, I started going to Garden of Eden, then I started popping up at Jamie Foxx. I just fell in love with the industry again from an idea that I could abandon my job to follow my dreams. And over time it happened. And naturally when it was time, I just went Hollywood Unlocked full time.
When did you make the decision to quit the job? Was it because you made a certain amount of money?
No, they fired me.
Oh, they fired you. So you had really kind of no choice.
They didn't fire me because I did anything wrong. When we merged with the unions, there became a lot of inner union fighting that it just was beyond my pay grade. So when they removed our president, I was very loyal to the leadership and I'm a loyal person. Like when I ride for you or ride with you, I'm 10 toes down, period. I don't care what nobody says unless you do some real crazy shit.
Right.
So they removed the president and they took all the staff. There was probably 300 some staff. They took us all into different hotels around the state. And we were faced with a decision. You either sign a letter and say that to all the members you've led for all these years that you were lying to them all this time, or you just quit. So we were faced with a decision of lying to the people or quitting, and I just decided to quit, and I just quit.
So from there, it was like, I'm all in now on
There's
this
no
other
other
shit.
choice.
There's no choice.
That's when I started Conglomerate Group, and I started putting, you want Chris Brown? You want this person? Okay, 10%, 10%. I started 10%ing my way into survival mode.
Middleman in a lot of deals.
Absolutely. I still do it.
It's a great hustle.
I still do it to this day.
Yeah. That's dope. Yeah. I mean, that's good to know. So for you, when did you, do you remember a month or a point in time where you really realized there was really some tread hitting the ground with Hollywood Unlocked? You could turn this into something that was I
can't remember the moment where I go, this is actually doing something. I remember when we first started, we started with $100.
What year was this?
It was 2015,
okay.
October. $100, the Instagram, website. And then while I was building it, I called Mona to get on Love and Hip Hop. Mm-hmm. But while I was doing it, we were so head down in the work that we weren't paying attention to the growth. We weren't counting numbers, counting followers, counting comments. We were just so into the work and perfecting the storytelling and what was going to differentiate us from our competitors and how were we working with those competitors to be collaborators. And we were just head down. And then I remember we went from 0 followers to I remember the day we had 60,000 because that was the day where we were damn, we got 60,000 followers.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And then I remember one day we hit 100, then it was 300, then it was 500, then it was 1 million. And so I remember all those moments of where we were hitting those milestones and we just kept trying to perfect the consumer experience because ultimately we at first were just a place where we're talking about what was hot, what was going on, but then people started picking us up and we were going all across the world in different news trades, and then we started seeing politicians reach out. So we're like, oh, damn. Then I remember an article came out that we swayed an election. So I'm like, okay, we have real influence.
Which election was it?
This was back home in Stockton.
Okay.
Where I literally just said my opinion on something, and it got picked up by LA Times, and then different people ran it, and then the vote literally, it swayed. And the person came out and said that a disgruntled former resident who used his platform for him to lose, and it wasn't true. It was just that you weren't a good mayor. And you need to go. So once I started seeing our influence, then I was like, we were really honing in on making sure that we were hitting all demographics. So pop culture, all things culture, politics. How do we hit all these 3 things from a world perspective? What do people want to hear that the whole world can talk about? What can they talk about in Nigeria that they'll talk about in London, that they'll talk about in LA, that they're going to talk about in Arkansas? How do we create that content? And then it became a very strategic thing. Where we started looking at the needle, okay, this got 12 million views, or this got, oh, okay, now this show got X amount of. That's how we really looked at the growth, and now we're just growing.